All right, a very good morning to you. It's good to see you right here on your world. I hope that you've had a better start to the day as always. Today is a very important day, and to that effect, we will have 2 hours of conversation, and this is around World Sight Day, all right? Because as we all know, sight impacts a person's ability to communicate and interact with the world around them, and it affects a person's ability to learn, to access economic opportunities, and to live a life of independence. So, according to statistics, there are more than 43 million people around the world who are blind and 295 million with moderate to severe visual impairment. And almost 90% of them live in low and middle income countries. So the big question is, what should be done to end avoidable blindness and avert and or reverse the trends? We discuss all that as we mark World Sight Day today, all right, under the theme, Love Your Eyes at Work. So we want to understand, first of all, the importance of the theme, okay? And this is as far as work is concerned. And what is it that we can do? Because we spend a lot of our times at work, right? So then what is it that we can do to protect our eyes and our sight, okay? To be specific, at work. So much to cover. And like I said, we'll have 2 hours, different panels, but 2 hours of conversation surrounding World Sight Day. So in this first hour, to help us with this conversation, I am joined by an all-female panel this morning. And on my immediate left is Dr. Odhiambo, who's a glaucoma specialist. Good to have you this morning. Already in your tie, eh? When you leave here, you go straight to work. Good to have you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Lily. And then next to Dr. Lily, we have Rizwana Pierboy, who is General Manager, Lion First Sight Eye Hospital. Good to have you this morning.
Good morning and happy to be here.
Thank you so much for making the time. And last but not least, we have Dr. Priyanka Buyar, who is a cornea and refractive surgery specialist. Ooh, big terms. Good to have you as well this morning on this very important day. And this is as we mark World Sight Day. So before we talk about sight and our eyes, because I can see, Dr. Priyanka, you already have
eye model.
Right? The eye model. And then we'll come back to you in a second. But let's speak to Rizwana first. So Lions Sight First Eye Hospital. Yeah. Like, we were asking this before we came on air. So, like, the same Lions that we all know, because I'm pretty sure almost all of us, we've either visited or we've heard about the same. But just in case someone is, you know, interacting with a name firsthand this morning, what is it that you can tell us about Lions?
So, yeah, good morning once again. Indeed, we are the same Lions that almost everybody knows, not just around Nairobi, but also around the country, because we run regular camps twice a week in about 4 areas of the country. So yes, it is the same Lions. Very happy to be here. Happy World Sight Day to all our viewers. And so Lions Sight First Eye Hospital started 25 years ago. And with the concept and vision was that we want to return the gift of sight to people and avoid preventable blindness. So that was the ethos. But today, we generally do everything. So over the 25 years, we've developed all specialties, and they will talk about it, whether it's cornea, retina, or glaucoma, or just a simple cataract or eye infection. We do it all, and we're proud to say that generally nobody needs to leave Kenya. And you can come to the Lions Sight First Eye Hospital to have your eyes seen. As we all know, the eye processes 80% of all that happens around us and communicates to the brain. So this is a very important organ. If you have any impairment in the eye, it just means that your dignity goes away. And so this is something we are passionate about. We want to make sure that we want to preserve your sight as best as possible so that you can live a good quality life.
Absolutely.
And so that's the ethos behind the Lions Sight First.
And I'm so happy that you said, listen, no one has to leave the country to get, you know, eye care. Because all of this, we have that in the country, and Lions is one of them. Okay. And like you said, 25 years, and over time, because again, I was going through your website, a lot of things, there's dental as well, there's wound care, and then there's diabetic, DCC. And I'm like, this is a lot, but it's a good thing to see, you know, that diversification, because one way or the other, some of those things are interconnected, and we'll come back to you to understand more, especially diabetes and eyes. But before that, so I was also doing like a bit of reading and saying the eyes has what, like millions of cells, all those things. Dr. Lily, help us. It was like a lot of things, like millions of cells that control. Listen, I can't remember. Please help. Yes.
So if you're looking at the eye, you know, it's the first thing that strikes you when you look at someone's face, right? And yeah, we actually do a lot to even enhance how it looks like on our eyes. Yeah. And it's actually a ball, and we have two of them, at least one for backup instead. Yeah, but case, also the two work together to actually give us the view we do have. So depending, like now, Dr. Priyanka has her eye model. Yes. Yeah, and it's actually an eyeball, and you can actually take us through
show it exactly
with the model.
Because I think, because like you're saying, we just see on the outer part, just the ball.
You see on the outer part, but all the structures actually work in play to be able to protect what we call the globe. Yeah. So we have the eyelids, the adnexa, the outer part, and then now we can go to the globe.
All right. So Dr. Priya, take us through.
Yes. So eye consists of different parts, and all of them work together. It's all connected. Every part, each and every part has to be working really well to help us see clearly. If either one part is damaged, one cannot see well. So this is the outermost part of the eye. It is cornea. Okay, this is transparent, as you can see. It acts as a window for the light to enter the eye.
All right. Do you want to show it to the camera close to you so that, yes, people can see? Yes, there we go. All right. So you're saying the outer part.
This acts like a window. It's the outermost transparent layer through which the light enters the eye. After that, then comes the anterior chamber, the lens. Okay. The lens is also transparent, and it also through it also the light passes. Through the vitreous, it falls on the retina, and then the information is passed through the optic nerve to the brain. So each and every part has to do its function well. If the cornea is cloudy because of any reason, or if the lens is cloudy like cataract or anything, if the vitreous has any blood or any opacities, if the retina is detached or has blood, if the optic nerve has glaucoma or has any other issues, either of or a part is not working well, then of course we don't see well. So it's all connected.
Okay. All right. And all of them have to work in a certain way, right?
To help us see well.
Exactly. Okay.
And eventually, actually, the retina acts like a transducer, and all the cells do come together to the retinal cells to come up, and they bunch up to form the nerve, which was what you're showing you at the back of the eye. And we do see with the brain,
Okay.
So, it's true, we have the eye, but as we're just discussing, most of the work the brain, a lot of the work the brain does is actually eye work. Yes.
I mean, and I was saying it takes like, what, milliseconds for
processing. Exactly.
Right? So they have to really, again, what you're saying, the nerves and all those things have to really work in coordination to make sure that all of these things happen. Dr. Priyanka mentioned that so all of these things have to work together so that we see well, okay? So then when does it become a problem? When someone says, I cannot see well, okay? So what are some of these conditions that could bring up that aspect of, I cannot see well?
Okay, so most commonly when somebody walks into the clinic, most common reason that most of us see is refractive errors, which can be myopia or short-sightedness. So the far things are not clear, near things are very much clear to them. Hyperopia, presbyopia, astigmatism. These all are the refractive errors which can be corrected with the glasses. So if that is not the case, then of course we do a thorough examination which consists of slit lamp examination, checking the eye pressure, checking the cornea, the lens, then retina, and all those things comes into play. So the exact reason why it is not seeing well has to be evaluated. A systemic history is very much important, looking into diabetes, any family history, hypertension, allergies, any autoimmune diseases, all these things we need to evaluate. And then depending on what we are seeing is abnormal, then the treatment now starts.
Okay, all right. I'm just curious to understand, are some of the symptoms like very silent that we don't notice it until maybe when it's almost too late? That is when we go to a hospital, you know, when we can say, I can't see very well, I'm having like blurry vision and all those things. Do we have like symptoms that are very silent and quiet that, we don't notice at first?
Actually good, she's taken us through that overview, and it's good you actually say that, and that's where the regular exams come in place, okay? Because many of the eye conditions, as you say, actually are salient. They start slowly and slowly. And some of them, like you mentioned, where I'm a glaucoma specialist, so I always look for the opportunity to bring this up.
Glaucoma, yes.
Yeah, because glaucoma is actually the second commonest cause of blindness in the world, and it's the leading cause of irreversible blindness. And so what's glaucoma? It's actually the disease of the nerve. I was quick to jump in and say that we see with the brain, and those messages are transmitted with the nerve of the eye. The nerve of the eye we call the optic nerve. Yeah. So what glaucoma is essentially a degeneration of that nerve. Okay. And so Dr. Priyanka has talked about the comprehensive eye exam that we go through, and those are some of the things we look for. Yeah. During our comprehensive eye exam. Yeah, so the regular checkups are important because depending on your age group, yeah, so different things affect different people. I'm not saying glaucoma doesn't affect young people, it does, but it's more common in people above 40, 60 years, yeah. So even us as eye care specialists, we do have, we are cognizant and we take a history, we'll do the examination, and there are certain things we are looking for. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, and many of them come in a very slow fashion, even refractive error, and actually very common. Yeah. Yeah. We did a study, and in Nairobi, in teenagers, almost 2 in 10 have actually what we call visually impairing refractive error that's causing visual impairment. You can't see. These children can't see. Okay. And they actually just need a simple procedure, just glasses, yeah? Yes. And we do have a program in the hospital, right? To correct that.
Actually, I'll just add a little bit to this just for the public. She's talking about glaucoma, and in fact, a lot of times it's referred to as the silent thief. Yeah. Because what happens is it often starts on the side, people ignore it, and so by the time it's now, when the optic nerve is almost getting fully damaged, is when you realize, oh, I don't. And I think we had an article, and she can allude to that, where a footballer whose whole life was around it, woke up blind in the morning. Yeah. And you know, that's the kind of thing that can happen unless you're taking proper care. And you know, just like for refractive, which is a simple thing, giving somebody a simple pair of glasses. And we do have this program at the schools where we not only go and screen children regularly every week, but we're also training the teachers, because oftentimes what you find is, and this is really great for parents to understand, that your child isn't doing well, doesn't know how to write, but all they're missing is a pair of glasses. So we're actually training teachers in schools as well, that when you see a child who's not able or is scrolling or whatever, do an eye test quickly. So we even leave them with the visual acuity charts so that they can try and guide the parents, and that way we try to improve you know, the life of the children as well. But critically, especially today with telephones especially, I think we need to have more regular eye exams, because these things are creeping in.
Absolutely. And I was just going to ask you, what are some of these things that we do on a day-to-day basis? Aside from the disorders, the diseases, and all those things, what are some of these things that we do on a day-to-day basis that puts us at risk of slowly maybe losing our sight, or, you know, waking up one morning and you are completely blind? Do you want to go through that?
I'll start it and they'll clinically tell you. Yes. So basically, you know, today the world is moving into the world of AI, but technology has been with us for the last 30 or 40 years, and today the cell phone is everybody's life. Even children, you know, when parents want to keep the kids quiet, a lot of times it's the phone, so all goes well. But what you find, and they will clinically tell you, that little children, if they're using that for too long, they develop muscle weakness, and then suddenly you find them squint-eyed. Not because they were born with the squint, but because the muscles weakened. So I would like them to tell you a little bit more, but really our lifestyle today, climate change, in fact, we're seeing a lot more cataracts than we ever did, even in newborn babies. And that's because of lifestyle, climate change. And then, of course, technology. So these are all great things, except for climate change, you know, where we need to be careful. So these are some of the things that we are seeing, and the outcomes of it.
Which is very dire, and we really need to do something right now. You mentioned cataract. We'll come back to you, Dr. Lee. You tell us more about glaucoma, right? But let's just address cataract in a moment, Dr. Priyanka. What is it? What brings about cases of cataract, and what is it that we can do to sort of like prevent, if we can, or correct as soon as that is diagnosed?
All right. So what is cataract basically? normally the lens which is inside the eye, okay,
Yes.
it's clear,
Okay.
it's transparent.
All right.
When it starts getting opacities or patches of whiteness, it loses its transparency, then we call it's a developing cataract.
All right.
So there are different grades of cataract to start with, from 1 to 6, and depending on that, the vision is affected in a way. So depending on when the patient gets a cataract, even we have small children which are born with cataract. So there are children with congenital cataracts, even 6 weeks old. Last month we saw a 6 weeks old child with cataract. So they can be hereditary in small children, if you can see, or related to touch or infectious diseases that might have happened during the course of pregnancy.
Okay.
Or sometimes we cannot find any reason as well. So in children also we do see cataracts like by birth or developmental, like they develop after the age of 2 to 3 years. Maybe in the 20s or 30s also some people do get cataracts. It might be related to trauma or even in the early age due to trauma as well. Injury causes the lens to lose its transparency. There can be diabetes. You know, diabetic patients are very much prone to get cataract earlier than others because of the sugar level if it is not controlled in a way.
Okay.
So everybody starts getting cataract, like our hair starts graying with age. So the lens also starts losing its transparency with age. So it's nothing like we can actually prevent it from happening.
Okay.
But yes, we can delay it.
Okay.
Like if you have diabetes, control the sugar levels. You can do that. Quit smoking. It can also cause early cataract. You can when you're going out, use sunglasses, protective sunglasses, UV blocking and UVB blocking sunglasses, which are harmful to the eyes as well. Some of these things you can do to prevent developing cataract earlier.
Yeah, and Rizwana mentioned climate change. Okay,
Climate
I know
change.
someone will be watching us this morning and thinking, wait, what? So can we talk about how climate change also contributes to some of this?
See, as you can see, nowadays it's becoming more and more hotter.
Yes.
Yeah, the climate is becoming towards more warmer. And in African population, as I'm seeing, that the children have a lot of allergies. You know, the maybe like small children, they come from the age of 2 years, 3 years, they're having constantly itchy eyes, and it's not like for a few months, they're chronic allergy patients. Okay, so it's causing them the red eyes, and then they keep on rubbing. And so what happens is we come to the hospital when we have a symptom, right? So we are not prioritizing the eye. When you have a problem, that is when we come, right? But some of these problems are detected when they come. Then only we come to know that it's not only the itching that they have a refractive error, they cannot see well also. And because of the constant use of the steroid eye drops, they are developing cataract also, or glaucoma in the course of time, and maybe keratoconus as well, which has a very high frequency in such children.
Yeah.
So they keep on putting eye drops, they are not seeing the doctors, they come after the age of 8 or 9 years or 13 years, and they're having advanced keratoconus also because of the constant eye rubbing.
Yeah.
So keratoconus is disease of the cornea when the cornea becomes conical. So it has a very high prevalence here.
Okay. All right. And you mentioned rubbing and all those things. I think majority of the people are culprits to the same. You just find yourself rubbing your eyes, right?
Avoid doing that. Avoid
possible.
hand-eye contact.
Yeah.
That is very, very much important. You're transferring germs to your eyes. We can get conjunctivitis or infectious diseases. And eye rubbing increases your chances of getting a keratoconus if you have a tendency or you're a suspicious case. Then rubbing your eyes releases some interleukins and some these things which causes it to develop keratoconus much faster or even progress it.
Yeah. Okay, I see that. Are there any genetic link to the same? I know for the kids you talked about congenital cataract, but yeah, do you have like?
Sometimes they can be autosomal dominant or recessive inheritance as well. We see that the parents also had the same condition. They have the children, siblings also, but it's not so much common as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen. Okay, let's talk about because now my brain is like overthinking and doing all those things, you know, just because, like we said, there's so many things that we can do to either prevent and some of these habits that we do on a day-to-day basis that predisposes us to some of these dangers. Glaucoma. All right. Are there people who are more at risk of glaucoma as compared to the others? We said. We used to think it's, you know, like 40 plus, but we're also seeing cases of children as well being diagnosed with glaucoma. So what is it that is changing that we're seeing, you know, younger children developing glaucoma?
So as I'd mentioned earlier, let me just repeat.
Yeah.
Glaucoma is a disease of the nerve in the eye, and that's what we use to transmit messages to the brain.
Okay.
And many times it will happen slowly, slowly damaging the eye.
All right.
Yeah. So there are certain risks that predispose you to glaucoma, but it's not always that. So the main risk is mainly, there are many risks, and you're right, you mentioned about genetics, yeah? So genetics does play a role. But when we're talking about glaucoma and what we can do, because how do you start detecting that you have an issue? And many times by the time you're detecting, as she said, it's a silent thief.
Yeah.
It's usually it's quite late, okay?
Yeah.
So what can you do? That's why we'll bring back our regular checkups.
Okay.
We actually have a very robust childcare system in the country where we take our children to clinics, yeah? And even in the immunization booklet, there's a section there that covers eye health. And the healthcare providers do look at our kids' eyes when we take them to the clinic. So that forms an important basis, because especially for congenital glaucoma, you're able to pick it up early. The eye looks abnormally large, yeah?
Okay.
So a healthcare worker is able to pick that, yeah? And then we do follow up during the years, especially the first 5 years, yeah? So eye health does come in there.
Yeah.
And subsequently that, we follow up for 2 years until they become around in their 20s. Then the key thing to remember is in your 20s, because we always look for glaucoma as healthcare providers, at least eye specialists. So 3 times in your 20s, 2 times in your 30s. I mean, 2 times in your 30s, because around 20 and 30, not much will change around that time, even your spectacles correction, right? And then at your 40th, I think you should gift yourself or gift someone an eye checkup, because that forms a good baseline where we follow you up. Because glaucoma is about early detection. If anything changes in the nerve of the eye, we follow that up.
Okay.
And usually it's 2 yearly, 2 to 3 yearly, up to your 60th. Then we now recommend at least every 2 years.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you don't have your eye checkup, especially for people with chronic conditions, things like diabetes, as she mentioned, hypertension. Or if you have an eye infection, please do not wait for two times in your 20s, 3 times in your 20s.
People don't even wait. People will just go to the nearest chemist, get an eye drop, and then that's it. So we don't necessarily...
And that's another big cause of glaucoma.
Yeah.
As she mentioned, this thing of using over-the-counter eye drops, especially steroids. Because it's true, we've talked about risk factors, genetics being one of them, but the only risk factor we can actually do anything about is eye pressure, which we look for in any comprehensive eye exam.
Yeah.
And some of the over-the-counter drops that people are given do increase eye pressure, and they slowly damage the nerve. What she was talking about, allergy. And they do very well. They actually quell the allergies down. But in the background, they're actually increasing the pressure in the eye. And that increase in pressure damages your nerve. And we can't actually regenerate the nerve.
That's the sad part.
Unfortunately, we can't do it.
I mean, listen, and even talking about eye drops, there's some people who don't necessarily have an issue with the eye, but just because my eyes are red and I want them white, what do? Go to the nearest chemist, get an eye drop, and that's it. And that's, like you're saying, that's a risk in itself. It's a very big problem that we need to do like a complete overhaul. And just go to a hospital, get checked, and given the proper diagnosis, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a break. But then when we come back, like you said, it's very silent. So what is it that's, by the time someone comes to you, what are some of the symptoms do they have? Is it that they can't see clearly? Is it that they cannot see at all? What are some of the symptoms that we should be on the lookout for? But most importantly, take our eye care very seriously. And then we'll also talk about some of the other conditions, like we talked about squint as well, and also sight kids, you know, for programs rather for children, but also emphasize on the importance of this day under the theme, Love Your Eyes at Work. Okay, so all that is coming up after the break. If you have any question as far as World Sight Day is concerned for the eyes, feel free to send them away. It's NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X. Okay, and tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie. But all that is coming up after the break. Stay with us.
by secrets.
There's a lot going on at the moment in this house.
Their true identity is uncovered in the brand new Unmissable Zari. Starts 23 October. Only on Maisha Magic Plus, channel 163 on DSTV Access, GoTV Plus, channel 3.
Bet.com.
Around 2.8 billion people in the world lack access to clean cooking solutions and are exposed to toxic household air pollution, which contributes to over 4 million deaths every year from non-communicable diseases and pneumonia. In Kenya alone, it contributes to over 23,000 deaths annually. The Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, in partnership with Clean Cooking Association of Kenya, CCAK, UNDP, State Government of Japan, GIZ and other stakeholders are championing to create awareness on the role of clean cooking in the delivery of net zero targets. This Thursday, the Nation Leadership Forum will focus on the clean cooking sector in Kenya. This year's Clean Cooking Week theme, delivering of clean cooking innovations towards net zero targets. Tune in on Thursday, 12th October from 7:30 p.m. only on NTV.
It feels so fresh, fresh, fresh. Fresh all day.
Always fresh. Nivea Fresh Deo. Now with new InfiniFresh technology. Antibacterial power with 48-hour protection and long-lasting freshness. Nivea Fresh Deo. Feel fresh in every moment. Try new Nivea Fresh Sensation Deo. Our freshest fragrance with 72-hour antiperspirant protection.
Following the gazettement of Two Rivers as a private, services-focused special economic zone, the first one of the kind in Kenya, there is no better time to own a home at Two Rivers than now. Text the word Cascadia to 22365.
All right, welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour, but let me tell you, during the break, what did you say? Eye makeup guidelines for the same? Yeah. And I'm like, wait, what? Okay, all right. So if you're just joining us today, it is World Sight Day, and we're having the conversation under the theme, Love Your Eyes at Work, and we're focusing mostly on testing the world's workforce, okay, right here on the show. And since, again, the theme revolves around work, Rizwana, I want you to take us through, again, so what that looks like. First of all, why is this important to just focus on work in itself? And then what are some of the things that we do at work that puts us at risk of developing eye problems just based on the things that we do?
As you've seen, our world is evolving, and we're all becoming a lot more dependent on technology. Technology is more efficient, but that's putting us at risk because our eyes are focusing on screens all the time, whether it's your mobile phone or whether it's the screen at work. So we need to be taking care of our eyes at work. And these are simple things that one needs to do, making sure that your vision is at a certain distance away from you. And I would like the doctors to actually tell you a little bit more about the kind of exercises you can do and what you can be doing so that your tear ducts and everything is aligned. Because we often forget. So you don't blink, you just keep staring at the screen. That in itself is a problem. So I would like them to explain how we can take care of that.
Okay. All right. Dr. Lily, do you want to go fast? And first of all, just talk about makeup because, okay, here we are today. We are in studio. We applying makeup, right? What are some of the things that we do wrong? Because I've never heard about makeup guidelines until today. Like I was 28 years old when I learned. But yes, what is it about makeup guidelines that we all should know about?
Yeah, so makeup is good, yeah?
Yes.
Actually, we like it. You look very pretty, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's just a few things to watch out for when you're putting your makeup, because it's actually part of our work, and it makes us look good, and we're happy about it. So I'm not against makeup, personally. I love makeup, yeah? But some of the things to watch out for, you see, the eye is actually it's moist most of the time, right? And we produce tears, okay? And there are these tears we produce at what we call baseline level to always keep our eyes moist. And the lid actually serves as like a wiper to always keep our eyes moist. And even on the lid, we have glands that actually produce tears and those that drain the tears away. Okay?
Yeah.
So the lashes, the base of the lashes actually do have glands that produce tears at basal level. Yeah. And if you do apply makeup, I'm sure you've noticed there are dots right on the margins of your eyelid, yeah? And those dots are very important because they do produce tears. Yeah? So when you're applying your makeup, try as much as possible to put it on the outside of the lashes, away, around the rim, please not on the glands. Otherwise, you'll be smudging and covering your eyes, yeah? And what happens when you do that? You start getting dry eyes and sore eyes, yeah? And that is actually a common workplace issue. And as Mrs. Rizwana says, the whole thing of eye strain comes about because at work, you see, we have the ergonomics, right? We can't run away from computers and phones and all those things. So it's important to work at a distance that prevents you from getting that eye strain. Then also there's a 20-20-20 rule. Okay? It's a form of exercise you do at work. So apart from focusing your work at least 20 inches away, as much as you're working, you have to try and remember at 20 minutes, so that's 20 first, so to look more than 20 feet away, yeah, try and focus more than 20 feet away, and remember to blink, yeah, every 20 minutes, yeah, you have to at least as much as possible, but at least 20 feet away, I mean 20 inches away, look for more than 20 feet away at every 20 minutes and remember to blink at work.
Yeah? I was going to ask about the blinking because Rizwana mentioned this during the break. So that's some sort of like exercise, eye exercise. So how often? Because I'm pretty sure you've seen people who blink too much and then we have people who rarely blink. Okay? So what is the middle ground?
Usually this is a reflex, yeah? But at least, the thing with the phones and the computers is that we forget. We end up staring a lot. So you're trying to make a conscious effort to actually blink a lot, yeah? But some people, as much as we say this, they actually do have other eye conditions like dry eyes. So it's important also to lubricate. We usually prescribe drops, and even I think the lubricants should be over the counter, yeah? Yeah, so those are safe drops. I don't advocate for over-the-counter drops, but at least lubricants tend to be quite safe, yeah? So it's to remember to lubricate also at work, yeah? Yeah.
All right. Dr. Priyanka?
Yeah, I would like to add up to what Dr. Lily was saying. So what happens is the basis behind this 20-20-20 rule is that whenever we are looking at a screen, it is at our intermediate distance. Yeah, it's a near work. So our muscles concerned with reading, the near muscles, they are working constantly so as to make the vision clear, right? So when we look at something which is 20 feet away, it relaxes those muscles and that releases the eye strain. So we forget about, like you're just looking at the screen and looking here, it's still not that far. So that relaxes the eye muscles and reduces the fatigue. And blink is something, you know, as she said before also, that it forms a tear film. When you blink, that is when a tear film forms in front of your cornea. So normally a person blinks about 15 to 17 times in a minute. But if you see when you're looking at a screen, you will be hardly blinking 3 to 4 times.
You forget.
Right? So it's reduced to less than 50%. So obviously it is going to give you dry eyes at the end of the day. So that will cause you dryness, blurring of vision, fatigue, and all those things.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And
So
in addition to that, we have these glasses, computer, they're specialized at least for looking at computers.
All right.
They actually do help a bit with the glare, yeah, so that we can use.
Okay.
And we have
Blue
those
light
available in the
Yeah.
hospital.
Yeah. Those are the prescription, right?
Yeah, you can get them for
Yeah.
even not really.
Even
You can
just
actually
plain, just
Okay.
simple,
Yeah.
which will block the blue light, so it reduces the strain.
Okay.
And another thing with kids, as much as possible, if you can get them off devices, what we've been talking about, the main cause of visual impairment, especially in that age group, the less than 20-year-olds, being refractive error. See, there's a lot of near work we are focusing on a lot. So if we can try get kids as much as possible to kick balls outside, run outside, try and focus for what she's saying. Because what happens, kids are so, the eyes are so pliable, they just learn to adapt. And you see, the eye keeps adapting to what it's being fed by this child. Yeah?
Yes.
So we are getting an epidemic, right, of myopia, short-sightedness. And even our studies here in this country have shown most of the kids in the country, the studies we've done are myopic compared to the refractive error, which is more common in the countryside, which is farsightedness, hyperopia. So it's an important campaign also to try and get our kids outdoors as much as possible, off screens as much as possible.
Yeah, because again, majority of the times, if they're not either holding the devices closer to the eye, they're sitting closer to the television because they want to see, I don't know what they want to see, but they want to see sort of like better and all those things. So avoid that. Get them out as much as possible. A lot of people talk about reducing screen time. So I wonder what that looks like limited to what, 20, 10 minutes, 30 minutes maybe per hour? Or what exactly does that look like?
As much as possible.
Okay.
You know, try to avoid the screen time. If whatever is needed, only that much. So less, depending on the age, if the child is too small, of course, then not at all, or maybe 20 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
But if the child is above 5 to 6 years, maybe less than an hour, or unless needed, okay? The main thing is they can, instead of going for a near tablet or a phone, a TV would be still a bit better option if you compare, okay? Still, it is not good to watch also so much TV, but looking at the distance, far is still better than near. And what WHO for Pediatric Association, it recommends is, as she said, outdoor activities for minimum 1 hour in the sunlight during the daytime is very much important for the prevention and progression of myopia, that is the refractive error. It recommends more than 5 hours a week the kid should be outside, minimum.
Okay.
They should spare outdoor time.
All right, I see that. And speaking of the same, you have a kids program at Lions, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to take us through what that looks like? And then we'll come back and talk about diabetic retinopathy. And then we'll also talk about squint as well. But can we just briefly go through the kids program at Lions?
So, well, basically, you know, when we realize this situation, you know, just like you mentioned, sometimes children will sit close to a TV only because they can't see from far. So, you know, all of these things. And it was actually at one of our programs a few years ago when the Lions leadership went, what they realized is there were children sitting in the back of the classroom and they had nothing in their books. So they asked them, aren't you writing what the teacher's putting up? And they said, but we can't see. Now, the teacher had thrown them at the back because they were naughty. They couldn't see even from the front. So it was then that they realized this. So Johnson & Johnson partnered with the Lions Southwest Eye Hospital. So every year, every week, 5 times a week, we go to different schools in and around the country where we started the screening program. Then we realized that, you know, we might get to a school once in a while, but children keep coming, they keep developing the situation. So now wherever we go, we are training the teachers, leaving them with visual acuity charts and encouraging them that if you see any abnormality, first check the eye. It just needs you to be 6 feet apart. Just let the child read. You'll come to know. And this will be a good way of helping the parents to come to know soon enough. And just a little bit more, and we will be launching this in the day today. But there are certain things that are also coming up for children, because children, when they have, you know, refractive errors, their power number tends to go up because obviously they have to read a lot more, do a lot more near work, as they said. So we're actually going to be launching some lenses and some therapies where we will try to regress that progression. So this is what we're doing as part of the program to make sure that we take care of the young as they develop.
That's true. And again, if if we can either prevent or catch it early, like what doctors are talking about this morning, the better, so that we don't have to wait until it's too late. But Dr. Lily, you mentioned again regular checkup, which is important. But some might wonder for the children, how often should that be? Is it like once a year, twice a year?
So I mentioned earlier we have the CAPI schedule, our pediatric schedule. So that always catches most kids below 5.
Okay.
So when they're able to read, it's a good time for them to do what we call a visual acuity exam. So they're able to read on a chart. And we do have what is normal and what is abnormal. If you do a search, you'll be able to get one online that you can actually take on your own.
Okay.
Yeah. And so from 5 years, usually what's recommended at least every 2 years until they're adults, because the eye is changing a lot. Their bodies are changing a lot.
All right.
So you're able to catch these refractive errors quite early.
As soon as possible.
And especially you'll realize when they hit the adolescent growth spurt, a lot of things are changing. That's why we're mentioning teenagers a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a good time for them to, at least if we keep up that schedule, a visual acuity exam, even in the schools, what we are doing, I mean, that's where we catch these refractive errors a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Instead of punishing this child for being naughty or not wanting to do their homework, just check and see maybe there could be a problem. Okay. Can we talk about a little bit about diabetic retinopathy? Right, Dr. Priyanka, what exactly is that, and is there anything that we can do to either, like you said, delay or maybe prevent, if that is possible, and the correction of the same?
Yeah, sure. Diabetes is an emerging health problem. Almost you can say every alternate patient has diabetes within the elderly patients when they come to the clinic. But most of them don't know that when they are type 2 diabetes, or the diabetes which is detected in later age, they are already might have had this condition since many years but came to know now, right? So as soon as they are diagnosed, of course, they should have an eye examination. A retina checkup should be done baseline along with an eye pressure checkup to see if there is any increased eye pressure which can be associated with diabetes patients. So after that, if that is normal, then annual eye checkup is necessary, especially the retina checkup for these patients.
Okay.
The most important thing is to control the blood sugar. If the sugar is controlled, of course, we can prevent it from happening in future. But if the sugar is uncontrolled, then what happens? It's a microangiopathy. So it slowly causes damage to the vessels. So after a few years, you'll not see immediately like we have a high sugar and now it is like that. But slowly the retina gets damaged. We can see there are various grades of retinopathy, starting from NPDR, non-progressive diabetic, retinopathy, and then after that the non-proliferative and proliferative diabetic retinopathy. So depending on the how the patient comes, how is his vision, and if there is blood on the retina, are there exudates. So after checking, we come to know, then we do the test as well. We do the OCT for the patient, and further we treat according to the stage.
Okay.
By laser or injections.
Yeah, but making sure that your sugars are controlled.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And in addition to that, in our hospital, as part of, for everyone who shows up in that hospital, you'll realize a lot of these, the systemic diseases, particularly hypertension and diabetes, do cause problems within the eye. Because if you look at Dr. Priyanka's model, the retina has those small vessels, what you're saying, microangiopathy, it has small vessels, yeah? So that's what diabetes damages, the small vessels at the back of the eye, what you call the retina.
All right.
Yeah. So part of our eye exam is actually involves, thanks to her efforts, part of the eye exam involves taking that sugar. Every patient, even our camps outside, will always do blood sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's where we catch many of our diseases, because it's such an important disease, yeah, especially in the working class community, and it's actually causing the highest cause of visual impairment is actually because of diabetes in the working class community. Yeah, yeah. So it's that important. Yeah, and what she's saying, I'll emphasize again. I know she said it, but it's blood sugars. Whatever we do in the eye, if you're not able to control your blood sugars, then we are fighting something futile, which goes back to lifestyle things. Having your regular physical exam, keeping proper diet and nutrition, exercise, all these things actually go to a lot to preventing eye diseases.
Absolutely, I see that. All right, want to talk about squint very quickly? And what are some of the strengths that you're seeing as well from the hospital?
So for squints, many times we mention squints. I don't say they don't come in adults, but we are mainly thinking about children, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So these are one of the things. If you look at, I like talking about our guidelines.
Yes.
Yeah, the pediatric guidelines.
Okay.
Actually, one of the things we do look at for children who are coming to the clinic all the way to 5 years, because it's apart from refractive error, and they actually are interlinked sometimes because children with refractive error will tend to develop squints. Yeah. So what squint is actually a misdirection of the eye. Yeah, one eye looking out or in or up or down. Yeah. So we're looking at, because both eyes are supposed to be looking at they're supposed to be in alignment, facing the same direction. So these are some of the things. We'll mainly look at them in childhood because it's an important it's an important childhood disease. So some of the things, so these are things we look at in kids, because other things we're trying to look at when we check a child and we see they have a squint, we want to check whether they are seeing properly. Yeah, because many times children they adapt a lot to the environment. If they're not seeing, or one eye is not seeing, it tends to forget to see, and what sometimes may happen, it may actually misalign. Yeah. So if you're starting from babies, it may happen before 2 months. That one will still observe. Yeah, because sometimes children, their eyes, but usually around 3 months when they're able to actually fixate at something and follow, then it's a bit unusual to be having squints at that time. Yeah. And they usually go hand in hand with refractive errors. So these are things we look for children with squints to see what is causing them. Many times it will be probably they're not able to see properly. So we'll maybe try to correct them with glasses or some special glasses that are able to bring their alignment. And then for some cases, we may have actually to correct the eye with surgery. Yeah. But these are common childhood condition. And usually we do have experts, who manage these children with squints. It's not an area just any ophthalmologist manages. Yeah.
Okay, I see that. Again, so Rizwana, do you want to talk a little bit about the camps as well? Because like we're saying, we need to either prevent or delay or catch it early so that it makes treatment a bit easier and less invasive. So what do this camps do?
Okay, so basically, eye care and the hospital is accessible, and now we have about 6 satellites. So those are accessible to people who live nearby. But what we're finding is that when you go out into rural Kenya, as it were, a lot of the old people start to have, diminished vision. And they're being told, okay, this is your fate, and you'll be left that way. So as part of the Lions program, the camps is an outreach program that we actually do with donor partners as well, where we go into different parts of the country and we run camps. So we notify people that will be coming, and then a camp is set there, where we then take the visual acuity. We have a clinical officer who looks at the eyes, and here is where we are trying to determine what's wrong with them. If it's simple allergic conditions, we treat them right there. If it's reading glasses, age-related, they're given right on site. But our main ethos there is to identify preventable blindness. And so especially cataracts amongst the aged, and we bring them then to the hospital. So we identify them, we book them, and then we bring them to the hospital. We keep them there for 3 days. So they come, then they are reviewed. The next day they are operated. They stay with us, and then on the 3rd day, the post-ops are done in the morning to make sure that everything is okay, no other adversities. Then we release them. And then we follow that patient for the next 3 months. So whenever we're going to camp, they know we're going to come. They come and get checked. And then, of course, if they need refractive support, this is also given to them. So the idea is, it's our program where, we want to give back the gift of sight and prevent eliminating blindness.
That's
so this is what,
how often do they happen? How often do the camps happen?
Actually, we do 4 camps a week, which are general. But then now we are also trying to do some corporate camps. So we are doing some with the agro and the flower industry, where we're going on other days, where we go to the tea pickers or the flower pickers. And why that is important, and I'll just give you a quick example, where we did a screening at, one tea picker When he was given a pair of glasses, because that's all he was missing, his productivity went from 30 kgs a day to 50 a day.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So you can see the effect it can have on the economy, on the family, on the community.
Absolutely.
So this is the benefit of the camps that we try to do.
I see that, and it's very, very commendable, actually, to have that. Okay, so we literally have to end the show right now, but I want to give our doctors in the building 15 seconds each. Talk about the importance of this day and what is it that we can do, because we know there's several treatment options, eye drops, we've talked about, glasses, and sometimes surgery as well. So significance of this day to you. Dr. Priyanka, let me start with you. What would you say in like 50 seconds?
Okay, so this is a World Sight Day.
Yes.
On this day is to create awareness about the protection and prioritizing eye health checkup.
Okay.
Everybody wants to just go when they have an eye problem, but they don't turn up just for a checkup. And during those checkups, we come to know what is actually happening. Some undetected things might be detected. But I would want to prioritize on one thing, which Madam Rizwana also wanted to say, upon eye donations. We have many patients, many children especially, who have keratoconus or multiple conditions in the cornea and which are waiting for the cornea transplant. And the only option, only the limiting factor for us is the donor corneas. We are ready to do the surgery. Patients have money, everything. Their children, even 9 years old, 8 years old, they are not going to school. They need donor cornea for the transplant, but donations are very much less.
Okay. All right.
I would urge everyone to please come forward to donate the eyes, pledge to donate your eyes after death.
Okay. All right. I think that's a long conversation that maybe we can have on another time, because there's a lot of things that's, that sort of like hampers so many myths, surrounding the same. So hopefully we'll have you some other time to discuss the same. Dr. Lily, 10 seconds. Dr. Priyanka has eaten into the 5 seconds.
I'll just repeat after. I'll always stress the importance of having those regular eye checkups. Especially for conditions like glaucoma. You mentioned symptoms. I do not want people presenting with symptoms. So we want you to keep prioritizing your eye checkups. Hashtag take care, love your eyes at work. So especially that there's that thing of workplace, what we've talked about, the 2020 rule, and also protective eyewear, especially for the people in the informal setup, the people working with the Juakali industry, carpenters. Those are many people who come to us because of trauma and sports. Especially the people in contact sports, to remember to wear if you go to our hospital, any sports shop, they have this shutterproof protective wear, and also when working on screens and children playing outdoors.
Please,
so
get them outside.
Get them outside.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Lily Odhiambo, my glaucoma specialist, Dr. Priyanka, we are cornea and refractive surgery specialist, and Madam Rizwana Puriboy. Thank you so much for coming, General Manager, Lion Farsight Eye Hospital. Good to have all of you this morning. Thank you so much for your time. But allow us to say goodbye to you, because we also have another conversation still on World Sight Day. So again, stay tuned for that. So I will see you on the other side of the break in the next few seconds. So have yourselves a lovely day ahead if you have to leave for now, like you guys. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, exactly right.
judgment of the court.
In any court in Kenya,
justice delayed is justice denied.
How long should one corruption case take to start and to be dispensed with? Is it a year, a decade, or a generation?
There is nothing that gives me greater pain than the knowledge this has never been resolved.
a judge presented with a matter like this ought to first take a step back and ask themselves, why am I entertaining a 32, 33, 34-year-old matter in court?
The issue here is that the blame is squarely within the judiciary.
We need to stop the abuse of the justice process. You cannot have litigation that does not end, because then it makes nonsense of the justice process.
Don't put off something today because you think you'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is not assured.
We are our greatest critics, so if you're able to break out of that jail in your head and do things that even you did not believe you could do, then you're a maverick.
Be confident early. I think society has broken a lot of our young people's confidence because you're always told, you're wasting time, what you're doing doesn't make sense. For me, the mavericks are the brave.
You also have to wait for the right time. If it's your time, you can't force things, you can't rush things. If you're not making mistakes, then you're not really pushing the boundaries.
Africa is blessed with problems. There are opportunities for us to be mavericks.
Roberto De Zerbi and Gennaro Gattuso have a fiery history that dates back to a Serie C match in 2016. And 7 years on, the rivalry between the two Italians has been renewed.
Are you ready for a challenge that will change your life? Introducing #Nation Scholarship Challenge. We all know that getting an education can be tough, but we also know that a scholarship can make a huge difference. That's why Nation Media Group and Goodwill are giving you the chance to win 80,000 Kenya shillings. All you need to do is to post a video telling us why you want this scholarship and how it will help you achieve your goals. Don't forget to use the #Nation Scholarship in your post. It's super easy, and by taking part, you'll be part of a global community of people who are all working towards their goals. So if you're thinking about pursuing higher education or have big career aspirations, this is your chance to take a step forward. Don't wait too long. Complete your Goodwill profile and share your story with us now.
Want to know the biggest story of the week? Do not worry, the Weekly Review got you covered. For in-depth analysis of politics, business, governance, as well as social issues, the Weekly Review covers it all. For well-researched, exclusive and investigative content, read the Weekly Review every Sunday in the Sunday Nation.
Next on the Saudi edition, Kenyan professionals in the dairy sector.
I handle about 138 workers.
And those in the ICT sector.
I look at the software development processes and then advise where we can be able to enhance them.
We will continue to tap more skills labor from Kenya.
As Kenyans in Saudi take second position in remittance inflows back home.
It continues to be an important destination market for our labor.
This Saturday at 7:30 p.m. on NTV.
How do you keep your toilets clean?
I use normal detergent and bleach for washing.
The detergent and bleach cleanless can leave behind yellowness, rust and germs. Harpic's 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach, and kills 99.9% illness-causing germs in your toilet, including the COVID-19 virus.
Even Job, he overcome the lines the devil had put for him. He entered the next level. Today, I prophesy. Just like Job. Just like Job. God bless his life. Yeah. He received double. Today, you are crossing that suffering, crossing that sickness, crossing that failure, that poverty, joblessness. You are entering your next level. Double, 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 double.
Get ready to tantalize your taste buds and embark on a culinary journey with Pishi Bomba, the ultimate cooking show that brings the flavors of the world right into your living room. Tune in this Sunday at 6:30 p.m. with me, Claire Karatu, for a mouth-watering adventure. Pishi Bomba. Cook, eat, enjoy.
I am in charge of my own finances. Mimi ndio nimetafuta hiyo pesa kwa sababu mimi ndio nimesweat, na kwa hivyo mimi ndio nitatumia hiyo pesa vile naona inafaa. Where I come from, in the mountain region, we have a phrase and a saying that says maisha no maya. Yani life ni hii tu yenye tunaishi leo. Tomorrow will sort itself out. Tumia pesa ikuzoee. Let's meet on the 28th of October for the 3rd edition of the Man Cave. I'm gonna be there. I'm looking to see you there. We discuss and I try sell you a narrative from a young person's point of view about finances.
Following the gazettement of Two Rivers as a private, services-focused special economic zone, the first one of the kind in Kenya, there is no better time to own a home at Two Rivers than now. Text the word Cascadia to 22365.
Welcome back. Just in case you are, you were with us since 8 a.m., you know the conversation that we're having this morning. And this is as far as World Sight Day is concerned. And the theme for this year is Love Your Eyes at Work. And we are focusing on testing the world's workforce, okay? Like we said, we spend most of the hours in the office or at work, okay? Not necessarily in the office, but at work, okay? So it's very important for all of us, above everything else, to take care of our eyes because it is the most important organ. Doctors will tell you, okay, in our bodies. And I was listening to someone who said the eye is actually the window to one's soul. So how about we take care of it, okay? So to help us with the second part of the conversation as far as World Sight Day is concerned, I am joined by, from my immediate left, we have Austin Odhiambo. Is Odhiambo, right? Yes, that's correct. Because the Health System Strengthening Manager from the Fred Hollows Foundation. Good to have you this morning. Thank you so much for your time. And we have Dr. Brenda Walaba, who's the Chief County Ophthalmologist, okay, from Nairobi City County Government. Good to have you this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Brenda. Like we were asking, is it ophthalmologist or ophthalmologist?
Ophthalmologist.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then last but not least, we have Dr. Melanie Mulgor, who is the occupational health physician from the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services from the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. Let me tell you, long titles. Good to have you as well this morning, Melanie, for joining us on this very important conversation. Dr. Brenda, I'm just going to begin with you. And this is understanding our eyes, right? We have discussed pretty much a better part of the same on during the first part of the conversation, but the focus mostly on the workspace, which again I think is where you come in. But just understanding the importance of the eye. Can we just stress a little bit on the same as we kickstart the conversation?
Okay. So thank you, Winnie.
Yeah.
So just for our listeners, it's good to know that just as you said, our eyes are actually like a mirror to our soul and to our bodies.
Yeah.
Without good vision, you're very limited in what you can do as an individual. There are things you can't do. There are things you need assistance. All is not lost, but it's just, how important eyesight is. Some of the professions you can't be able to do if you don't have your eyes. Like, for instance, for me as a doctor, as an ophthalmologist, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now if I didn't have good eyesight. So many other professions as well, like pilots, you can't be able to fly an aeroplane without proper vision. And then the eyes also tell us of many other things that are happening in our bodies, like it could be the first sign, low vision would be the first sign to tell you that there's something not right with your system. Like for patients who present with diabetes, some hypertensive patients, even some cancer patients, we first present with ocular or eye symptoms. So it's very important to ensure we have good eye health and protect our eyes.
Yes. And talking about good eye health, what exactly does that look like?
So basically, good eye health starts from what you take in, what you eat. Yeah. So that will really determine.
We're told to eat carrots.
Yes, carrots are good. Carrots have beta carotene, which is usually very good for your eyesight, and especially for children who are growing up. Fresh leafy vegetables, fruits, all the vitamin C's are usually really good in our eye health. What you take in, that includes how much you, let's say if you take alcohol, you've had patients who've lost eyesight due to complications with adulterated, alcohol. Even smoking has an implication in our eyesight. There are some eye conditions which are, the risk is increased because of smoking. For instance, cataracts. Studies have shown that patients who smoke are at a higher risk of developing cataracts, even at an earlier age than the general population. So other than that, what you take in is also how you protect your eyes, especially at work. Today is World Sight Day. And the theme of today is, love your eyes at work. Nowadays, we are all into technology. Most of us will either be on the phone or you're on the screen and all that. So it is important to also protect our eyes as we use these gadgets. Take frequent breaks. Of course, where the lighting is a lot, you have to, just ensure you're using anti-glares or put screens with the anti-glares or blue block, because also that helps in, just ensuring your eyes are good. Also, frequent eye checkups are very important because most of the eye conditions, I'm sure from the previous conversations you've had, you'll realize most of the eye conditions actually very silent, painless. And especially if it's affecting one eye, you might not notice vision is going down in the other eye. So having the frequent eye checkups, just the same way we do our medicals, is very important, so that some of these conditions can be picked up early and then something done when it's
as soon as possible.
Yes, exactly.
We don't want cases when it's too late.
Exactly.
Okay, so I was reading from the Fred Hollows Foundation, and one of the things that came out was the number of people who are living with blindness, and this is around the world, and they were saying, what, 43.3 million people are living with blindness, and almost 90% of these people live in developing countries. How much of a concern is this?
Yeah, thank you so much, Winnie. And, looking at how the world today is talking about the sight, it's a good thing. And as Fred Hollows Foundation, which is an NGO that focuses on bringing up the eye as a development agenda. So we are trying to look at, the burden of blindness that we have in this country alone. As at now, we say almost 290,000, people are having blindness. And of that, we say that 4 out of 5 of those who are blind, ought not to have been blind, meaning this can be prevented. And there are a lot of, very, basic steps that people can take to, to seek this care. But then when we talk about accessibility, do you have these services available? Are people aware that we have, sight-saving services in our hospital, in government hospitals? Because when I hear Dr. Brenda speak, she's an ophthalmologist, qualified, and can be able to, reverse some of these, blinding diseases. But then as a foundation, we are trying to look at how then do we partner more with government to support in training, to support in providing equipment for treatment. But over and above that, we also look at a systems change. How do we integrate eye health in the broader health sector? Because then that level of integration will ensure their budgets allocated for their eye. That level of integration will ensure that if a patient comes to a diabetic clinic, for example, then they have to get an eye examination so that if there is any blinding condition that could be, underlying this particular patient, then it is able to be picked early and intervention, necessitated early enough. But then apart from that, we also look how can government and how can all of us, we are government, they say, how can all of us look at eye health, not as a cost, because we say, what's the cost of this surgery? But how do we look at it as an investment? Because then we say that for every dollar, spent in eye health, whichever intervention, be it at community level, be it in providing some of these surgeries and treatments, then there's 26 times, return on investment. So how can we increasingly as a country, as a people, start looking at investing more in eye health? And what are some of the returns that we'll be able to get when we have a productive workforce?
And that is where Dr. Melanie comes in. And I'm pretty sure you're very happy about this day and, the emphasis that it's taking as far as the labor workforce is concerned. So what exactly are we looking at? And especially here in the country, because we're talking about, 15.5% of Kenyans are in need of eye care services, right? But in the labor workforce, what exactly does that look like?
So first of all, thank you very much. And I'm very excited to speak just after Dr. Brenda has introduced the importance of eye health and listening to, Austin about from the public health perspective. But let's look at the importance of work for a start. Work is something that provides joy. Many of us actually do everything deliberately so that to get into the workforce. It can either be the formal or the informal workforce. What do we draw from work? It can be passion. We work to get money. The other thing we look at is the time. How much time do we spend in the workforce? We know from now it starts from the age of around 16. People start getting exposed to the workplace. And many people retire at the age of 60. If you look at just that duration, this is a place that then we spend most of our living lives doing work. In these workplaces, then we're exposed to things, materials, equipment, environment that then can harm our eyes, but also there are things that then affect people of the working population. For example, some of the diseases that Dr. has talked about, things like diabetes, hypertension, that can affect the eye. When we look at the workforce, the main thing, Austin has talked about return on investment. For us, then we look more of focus on the productivity. In terms of productivity, we need to ensure then the person is suitable in that workplace. And in that workplace, there's nothing that is harming them such that they will not be able to deliver what they're expected to deliver. Coming back home, we look at the numbers. Look at the workforce that is in the formal sector. Look at the workforce that is in the informal. The informal sector is, of course, a bit larger than the formal sector in our sector. However, in terms of protection to the risks of the eyes, in terms of screening, everybody is entitled to that. Recently, the ILO made a safe and work environment as a fundamental principle and right at work. That means then everybody should be encouraged to ensure that the workplace is safe. So that means all the employers, both self-employed in the formal and the informal sector. And secondly, also the employees then have to look at factors that then should enable them to have a safe work environment. Here amongst them today, we're talking about the eyes. The eyes are very important. Anytime there's a loss of vision, that means then you can predispose yourself to certain risks. You can do activities at work that then can predispose your colleagues to at risk. So when you look at the workplace, those are some of the key intersection areas that we want to then intervene from the employer perspective and from the employee perspective.
All right, and we'll come back to you to delve deeper into some of these practices that we do that could either put us at risk or our colleagues as well. But Dr. Brenda, what are some of these common eye problems that you're seeing right here in the country?
Okay, so today being World Sight Day, I'll maybe comment more about the eye conditions, especially that result into avoidable blindness.
All right.
The number one cause of avoidable blindness globally and even in our setup is what we call refractive errors. By refractive errors, I mean being short-sighted or long-sighted, for some people not being able to read small print at close range. So unfortunately, this is one thing that is common in the population, but still underdiagnosed in most places. We've had some children coming to hospital for registration with people with disabilities, only to do an assessment and realize this is someone who's short-sighted, and all they need is a pair of spectacles, and they are good to go. So that is one of the most common that we see. The other thing that we see is also cataract. Cataract is when your natural lens in the eye becomes opacified. Usually you expect it to be clear, like a mirror, so that light is able to pass through to the back of your eye. Dr. Priyanka was just demonstrating what the retina is to the back of the eye. That's the retina, so that an image can be formed.
All right.
So with cataracts, we see that mostly with the older generation, but you also have pediatric or childhood cataracts that happen. So that can be corrected, usually through surgery, and you're good to go. The other common cause of avoidable blindness is what we call glaucoma. Dr. Lily talked about glaucoma, yes. So usually when there's damage to your nerve that connects the eye to the brain, and now that interferes with how much your eyes can see. Now, the other common causes are also diabetes that affects the eye. We call it diabetic retinopathy. Also hypertension affecting the eye. We call it hypertensive retinopathy. And then the other most common cause of reversible blindness, mostly seen in the West, but you're also seeing more of those cases locally, is what you call age-related macular degeneration. So in the eye, in the back of the eye, on the retina, there's usually a part that helps you to focus on objects. So that part can undergo degeneration, mostly due to age, and that interferes with vision. When this condition is picked early also, there's a lot that can be done to ensure that, you don't lose your vision.
And it's just sad that, again, like you said, some of these conditions can be prevented, but still we're seeing a lot of cases on the same. And Austin, I'm just curious, so is it more of like our bad manners, we as people, that if it doesn't hurt, we don't go to a hospital? Is it a case of then there are not enough resources? You talked about funding as well, which is very, very important. Or is it like we lack best practices? What exactly is the biggest issue or impediment towards preventing some of these cases that Dr. Brenda has mentioned?
Thank you, Winnie. Dr. Brenda mentioned earlier on that it is not painful. So because you don't feel the pain, you don't see the need to go to the hospital. And so that also speaks to our health-seeking behavior as a people. We always want to wait until it is, the tail end is when we seek care. But again, I believe eye health for the longest has not really gotten the right visibility in this country like we are having right now. So then in terms of awareness, the levels of awareness are very low. Because back in the village, somebody will say, you ugonjwa wazee. There's a condition for all the people, so there's no need for you to come seeking care. But then how best do we continue strengthening partnerships so that we ensure that we increase the levels of awareness? So that once awareness is created and people know there'll be demand for these services, but then the next thing, where do they get the services? And so the various service points, as Fred always, we try to really support the partners, Ministry of Health, the counties, really to provide the services. But then, as I spoke around integration, how does it start from community? That community health work, who is visiting each household, identifying people with eye conditions, how are they able to stimulate referral pathways? And apart from that, Dr. Melanie really spoke of, at workplace. We speak of occupational health and safety. Do we have the right human resource in our places of work? I can speak of, let's say here, you have a public health officer employed in this
in the
organization, to handle issues of occupational health and safety. When it comes to, doing trainings, ensuring there's compliance with all the protocols in place, ensuring they're able to, to do an assessment around what are the potential hazards in our places of work that can, make us have some of these injuries or eye or blinding conditions. So we look at it in that manner, but then other than creating demand, what about supply? This country, WHO recommend that we need one ophthalmologist to 250,000 population. But in Kenya, that is not. We are not even meeting the WHO required standards. Apart from that, even looking at distribution of the ophthalmologist. Most of the ophthalmologists, you'll find them within, let's say, the urban centers, the major cities like Nairobi. What about that child who has got an eye condition in Moyale? You know, what is it that is being done to handle that kind of workforce distribution? So these are conversations as a country we must start having, so that then we can't say it is expensive to access care. Professor Fred Oloz, you know, he revolutionized how cataract surgery is done by ensuring that IOL, the intraocular lens, you know, it used to be very expensive. You could see when you're young, people with very thick goggles, you know, after cataract surgeries. But with that IOL being made affordable, you know, through the work of Fred Oloz, setting up a company in Eritrea, then we are increasingly finding, you know, the cost of providing eye health services is affordable. And why am I saying is affordable? Only if you are not going into your pocket. So we have things like the NHIFs of this world, the social health insurance. In fact, I'm happy about what the government of the day is doing now. You know, trying to revamp, you know, the local, what we call the local resource mobilization. And so somebody can get cataract surgery using their NHIF.
Without having to dig deeper.
Without having to go into the pocket. And at the same time, the hospital will be able to claim this money from NHIF to better improve the skills of the healthcare workers, to better buy more equipments, to even expand the reach with their services. So I feel it's all about looking at the right place to invest, looking at how, you know, all this investment is going to bring value back not only to government, but to all of us as a people. So as an NGO or as a donor, for that matter, you know, we are looking at how best are we getting health for the money that has been invested. Because we can say we don't have enough resources, yet the resources are there. The only thing we are not optimizing how best we use them.
And again, we all live in this country and we all know how, you know, Sisi Kenyans will be like, hey, where did that money go? Who's taking that money? You know, and all those things. Okay, so how about we take a break? And a lot of things to really think about, you know, what you're talking about as far as investment are concerned. But again, to us as a people, as an individual, how much of an investment am I putting in? And not just in terms of like cash, but also time to go to a hospital, go see Dr. Brenda and get to understand where am I, what exactly is happening and all those things, improving our best practices. But again, Dr. Melanie, like we said, what are some of those things that we do in our workspaces? Like you said, we spend majority of the time. So what is it that we're doing that predisposes us to some of those conditions that we talked about, that some are preventable? Okay, so much to discuss on the other side of the break. Any questions that you have as far as eyes, your sight, or vision is concerned, feel free to send them our way at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X, and tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie, and we'll go through your feedback after the break. Stay with us. The show is Your World.
Karibuni! Hii ndio base ya the best local entertainment. Baby!
Tumefungulia Magic. Starting from the 7th of October, Maisha Magic Plus will be on DSTV Access and GoTV Plus.
Benefits of ordering with Glovo. Glovo allows you to order anything you want at the comfort and convenience of your home. Craving fried chicken or pilau or pizza? Easy and simple. Order on Glovo today. Glovo. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
With Glovo, you've got the city at your fingertips. Unajisikia kukula kitu different? Order Glovo. I'ma treat the family with a sweet surprise. Download Glovo and get anything you want in minutes.
Roberto De Zerbi and Gennaro Gattuso have a fiery history that dates back to a Serie C match in 2016. And 7 years on, the rivalry between the two Italians has been renewed.
Are you ready for a challenge that could change your life? Introducing #Nation Scholarship Challenge. We all know that getting an education can be tough, but we also know that a scholarship can make a huge difference. That's why Nation Media Group and Goodwill are giving you the chance to win 80,000 Kenya shillings. All you need to do is to post a video telling us why you want this scholarship and how it will help you achieve your goals. Don't forget to use the hashtag Nation Scholarship in your post. It's super easy, and by taking part, you'll be part of a global community of people who are all working towards their goals. So if you're thinking about pursuing higher education or have big career aspirations, this is your chance to take a step forward. Don't wait too long. Complete your Goodwill profile and share your story with us now.
Following the gazettement of Two Rivers as a private, services-focused special economic zone, the first one of the kind in Kenya, there is no better time to own a home at Two Rivers than now. Text the word Cascadia to 22365.
Welcome back. The show is Your World, 32 minutes past the hour. That means we have very limited time and we have so much to cover as far as this conversation this morning, as far as World Sight Day is concerned, under the theme, they can lead me, under the theme, Love Your Eyes at Work, and we're focusing on testing on world's workforce. And before we went on a break, Dr. Melanie, you want to take us through some of these things that we do on a day-to-day basis that maybe we have become accustomed to, right? That we don't sometimes think of the impact that they have as far as our eyes are concerned. So what are some of those things?
Okay. Yeah. Let's look at the workforce. Yeah. First of all, the workforce is quite diverse, depending on the area of economic activity that you're working in. If we look at the office, for example, in most of the offices we use the computer, so we have a visual display that is affecting us. The duration of time that we are on that computer, the number of hours, the kind of lighting that we have on that computer, the glare alone, the positioning, basically generally the ergonomics around it. How do we position it vis-a-vis the natural light? That's the simplest thing. We can start from there. But if we look at other sectors, for example, in the construction sector, we have exposure to other hazards like dust, the cement dust, the sand dust, several, the wood dust that is there. We have exposure to chemicals, depending on the industry that you're in. Paint, for example, is one of the chemicals. Those who work in agriculture, pesticides, different forms of dust that is in this sector. So really, if you look at each and every sector, there's definitely something that affects the eyes. Because in all sectors, everybody uses their eyes. That you see is for sure. So if you look at each of these hazards, we're exposed to differently. But what can we do about them? This is where then the role of the employer and the employee comes in, or the worker comes in. First, we do a proper risk assessment. We look at, this is the hazard, this is the person, this is the environment. What can we do about this hazard? Can we eliminate it? If you can, well and good. If not, what can we do? Can we substitute it? And that becomes the second thing. If we can't substitute it, we look to the next thing. Can we do an engineering control? Can we block it? For example, I know some computers, you can put an anti-glare screen. That's already one of the controls that you can do. Next, we look at administrative control. So this then comes to the behavior of how we do things. And Dr. Walaba already mentioned about taking frequent breaks. For example, after every 1 hour, we take a break. How we position things, how we actually handle some of the equipment and the processes and the chemicals affect us. And then finally comes use of personal protective equipment. So this is where I'm sure Austin would. You can see he's already nodding. It's very, very important. You're given a personal protective equipment that you're supposed to wear proper goggles. You do not wear them. I see this very frequently. For example, those who do welding. How many times do you see them with their proper goggles or a face shield just to protect them from this, arc lights and all that? So when we look at some of these things, from the administrative engineering controls, proper risk assessment, eliminating and substituting, These are things that then we can do periodically and frequently in our workplace.
Okay.
When we talk of the risk assessment, it doesn't have to be one-off. I see this being done sometimes just annually. Risk assessment should be dynamic. For example, here in the studio, it can be daily just to look at, are the lights still okay? Are they where they're supposed to be? Are they, you know, the correct brightness? All those kind of things. And then finally, we come to the person. There's what we call frequent medical examination. Austin and Dr. have already alluded to it. In OSH, we have what we call occupational medical examination. One important thing that we must do is frequent eye checkup.
All right.
Before you get employed, annually, and at the exit of employment. And this is important because then we identify, if you have a problem, how do we preserve your eyesight? If there's a problem going on in the workplace, how do we identify it early enough so that then we can refer you to the ophthalmologist for proper care? If you already have a vision and vision impairment, how then do we accommodate the workplace to you so that then you're able to work and be productive? And then this comes into the issues of return of investment that Austin is mentioned.
Yeah. All right.
So in a nutshell, that's what we expect in the workplace.
And I'm just curious, especially with the guidelines. Like, do we have specific guidelines for? Because again, like we said, we have both the formal and informal. Some of these things we know, but we don't do them. Which I think the whole aspect about individual and self comes in. Instead of complaining and say, oh, the company is not doing this, my employer is not doing that, what exactly are you doing yourself? All right, so Dr. Brenda, based on what Dr. Melanie has talked about, so quantifying that in terms of the progressions and what you have seen, because like I said, some of the symptoms are very silent. You don't notice them. By the time you're going to a hospital, it's sometimes almost too late. So can we just talk about some of the rates of the progression of this, you know, diseases, conditions, and based on the risks that Dr. Melanie has mentioned?
Maybe just to build on what Dr. Melanie has talked about, occupation risks that, you know, will affect your eye health. It actually starts from your home.
Okay.
Something as simple as when you're spraying pesticide on your, you know, vegetables and all that, you're supposed to wear protective eyewear. We see a number of patients who come in to hospital. They tell you, I was in my farm, I was spraying pesticide. They come, they've had chemical burns in their front part of the eye, which we call the cornea. Some of the burns are even so severe, and you end up maybe losing vision in that eye, or you end up now having to do a corneal transplant in some of these patients. At work also, there's one simple rule that I give to my patients. When you're working on the screen, take breaks. There's this rule that we call the 20-20-20 rule. After every 20 minutes, take about 20 seconds to look at an object 20 meters away, you know, so that you have that break from the, you know, the gadgets to eliminate what we call digital eye strain. The other thing which you're seeing a lot, especially with the, you know, gadgets and being on the screen, is among children. Studies have shown that children who are always on the screen, especially at close range, on, you know, laptop, on the phones, you know, tend to be short-sighted, you know, compared to the general population. And if you walk around, you'll see more children wearing spectacles at an earlier age than maybe 20 or so years ago. And it's just because of the amount of time these children are spending on the screen, you know, and the risk of developing, you know, what we call myopia. So encouraging children to do more outdoor activities is also very important. Back to the workplace. You're now home, you know, in other places where you're in the informal sector, and there are these people doing welding. There are also people doing, you know, spraying of chemicals. They also are expected to wear the protective eyewear and eye shields that Dr. Melanie said. On average, in a week in my practice, I'll not miss at least 3 to 5 patients who come presenting with, you know, injuries from the workplace because of not just wearing the proper protective eyewear during their work. And most of the time, these injuries are usually emergencies. And, you know, unfortunately, for it to become an emergency, it means, you know, harm has already happened. And like the other conditions which I had mentioned are usually silent. And most people, because they are not in pain, and if it affects one eye, you won't notice that your vision is going down. So present much later. Luckily, most of these conditions are reversible. So that is why we encourage people to have their annual eye checks. Because in these annual eye checks, we are able to determine if there's something that is not normal and then initiate early intervention, as opposed to someone who doesn't have their annual eye checks, and they're coming maybe 20 years later after something has happened, and it's too complicated, and even if you have to intervene, you might not get the vision back to normal, or you just have now to register them with people with disabilities. So I'll really emphasize the importance of annual eye check as we do the other medicals.
Yeah. I see that. I see that. And when Austin talked about the return on investments, I think early intervention, like he said, and catching this early and putting someone either on treatment can save them again much money.
And early intervention is actually cheaper compared to, for instance, if a patient came with, let's say, infection, a simple eye infection, you're likely to put them on antibiotic drops and then treat the condition. But if someone comes later and they have had this infection and there's scarring of what you call the cornea, this is a patient, at the end of the day, you will need to do a corneal transplant. It is not cheap, So early intervention is actually, cheaper than waiting to treat the complicated cases.
And I see that. And Austin, so there's so much that has happened and so many changes and improvements have been made as far as our health sector is concerned. But the biggest question is on UHC, okay? So, and I think I'll also ask you this, Dr. Brenda. So do you feel like this has been properly addressed? And as, an organization that comes in to support, what are some of these areas that maybe we would need, a few things or steps to do to just strengthen the same so that we can encourage as many people to go for their eye checkups, like Dr. Brenda is saying, or have enough facilities to tend to these patients?
Yes, thank you, Whitney. On UHC, the WHO gave a report, the World Report on Vision. And one of the key recommendations from that report was to embed eye health within UHC agenda in each country. And of course, when you talk about the universal health coverage, it goes without saying then what will take us to there. It is a journey. And so that's where we talk of what you call primary health care. And when we talk about primary health care, there are various packages of interventions that are well stipulated to be provided from community to the dispensary, to the health center, up to the, the national referral hospitals. So that is well mapped out when it comes to integration of eye health. But then you can't also talk about UHC without looking at the investment around that, because all of these will still boil down to, do we have the proper enabling environment, to have, government, to have private sector investing in eye health. And I know right now we have what you call the, it's a talk within the Ministry of Health, the primary care networks, so when that is activated, as eye health, advocates, we have to ensure that as we come and influence the package of care that is going to be delivered at each level, then we are able to ensure that eye health is also included. And that's why we are really working closely with the Ophthalmic Services Unit, really to set up those systems that will ensure, as government is investing in UHC, for example, we are saying within the insurance, the NHIF, it caters for cataract surgery. Apart from that, it also caters for what you call the low vision, like glasses, to correct the refractive errors. But people don't know that, you see. But then even within the community, how are we investing in building the capacity of community health workers to be able to do just the basic screening? You see, right now the government is going to incentivize the community health. Now they are called health promoters. You see, that is a big thing. That's a big win when it comes to now UHC. But then even looking at the mid-level cadres, I know we have, optometrists, we have ophthalmic nurses, we have cataract surgeons, and then ophthalmologists and specialists. So looking at all those continuum of care from community level to the highest level of care in this country, then we have to have intentional government investment. Because then you can't say you're reaching somebody to the last mile. If your services are only within the main referral hospitals, then that is not UHC. And that's why Fred Olos is partnering with the Mission Aviation Fellowship to fly doctors from Nairobi to Moyale to Masabit. What is it that as a country we're not getting right? Are we able to have counties employing ophthalmologists? are we able to even have them being trained, you see?
In the first place, yeah.
You know, so the fact that we are also modeling our programming to look at the community aspect, then we are able to embed what we call the primary eye care within the community health modules. So then, you know, all these people providing, you know, care know that when I walk into that hospital, I won't be told that your eye, you just have to go to that other hospital. No, but there's some level of care that you can get there.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
I see that. I mean, listen, even when we talk about awareness in itself, sometimes people don't know who to go see for specific eye problems, right? You go to a hospital where pata daktari, and then so this doctor or clinical officer or nurse or whoever will get there will then refer you to, and that waste a lot of time, if we could say, and resources as well. So again, still investment on the same, and talking about UHC. So then, what is it that we need to strengthen more?
So the aim of UHC is to ensure there is quality healthcare that most individuals, if not all, can access at an affordable, you know, cost. So as a country, we are not yet there, but at least we're in the right direction. By integrating what Austin has said, integrating eye health in, you know, what the other services that we offer at the facilities, at the government facilities, is actually a step, you know, towards achieving the UHC. As you say, there are many Kenyans who really don't know who to look for when they have an eye issue. For instance, I've seen some of the patients who are coming to me as an ophthalmologist, having gone through many other, you know, places to have their eyes checked. We have different categories of healthcare workers in the, you know, eye health provision. We have opticians, we have optometrists. Usually they are trained differently and they're able to offer, you know, services to do with eye health to some extent. But just because most Kenyans really don't know who to look for when they have specific eye conditions, that inhibits also the accessibility in good time of what UHC is trying to achieve. So what Austin has also said, ensuring these services are available in our local, county, and public hospitals. I would speak for Nairobi County. I would say at least much has been done. And in most of our county referral hospitals, we have a qualified consultant ophthalmologists and also other eye health workers. But unfortunately, there are also counties that do not have a single ophthalmologist. You know, some of those patients, by the time they're referred to Nairobi, they're coming to Nairobi, they don't know anyone. By the time they're getting to see a specialized eye doctor, it's already too late. Some even when they are referred by, let's say, the community health promoters, they never even get to travel to go to a place where they can see a proper doctor and, you know, a proper diagnosis and intervention is done. So we still have some steps that we have to take as a country to ensure that we achieve UHC. And it's not just about accessibility and affordability, equitably, you know, having these services in some places, let's say in the city of Nairobi, and not someone in Nairobi, in Moyale, cannot access this. There's no equitability there. So we still need to do a lot to ensure we achieve UHC, especially in the forum of eye health.
Make universal make sense, right? As far as we're talking about universal health care is concerned. Okay, so then Dr. Melanie, understanding the importance of both the employee and the employer, I mean, generally the labor workforce, right? So how much of a product impact of the best practices that if put in place, so how much of it will contribute to not only an individual, but also the organization, communities around us, and, you know, the economy in general? How much of productivity will that change? So as far as this best practices that you mentioned earlier on, if put in place.
Okay. Maybe if I can just mention directly what then people in the workplace, what we would expect to implement. This is as per the OSHA provisions, but also very specifically, is what we call the eye protection rules. Currently, it's undergoing review, so we expect a new one to be, you know, circulated very soon. But when we look at if these provisions are actually implemented, there's great return on investment, both in the workplace, but also in the community. Let's start, for example, when somebody gets an injury, the emergency that Dr. is talking about, that person will be off work. Who is going to pay for the loss of that person at work? So that is the first cost that then we're going to prevent and will save in terms of the cost value for that. When we get somebody getting injuries and they end up getting, complete loss of vision, they end up getting a disability. The compensation that is then incurred in terms of paying this person because of the disability versus, the support then they will get, continued medical assistance and all that. If then we do what we're supposed to do in the workplace, we're going to prevent that. Finally, we look at the society. If somebody loses their vision because of an injury in the workplace, what effect is it going to have in the society? That person may not be completely productive before they are rehabilitated and being able, to enroll into return to work programs, or maybe they end up having to change their career. The time loss, the cost of that to the society, to the economy, and to the government as a whole is something that then we can prevent by doing simple things. Elimination, substitution, training of the workers to ensure that then they know this is their mandate. This is what we're supposed to do to assess the hazards and protect our eyes. This is how we are supposed to wear the PPE and to wear it correctly. And also, on the other hand, the workers, we challenge them. It is your duty to ensure that you actually wear this PPE correctly at all times as is required based on your work environment. And also, it is their duty to identify some of these risks and hazards and to also report on them. So if you look at this, it's a collective responsibility for all. If you look at the cost, it's not just in terms of the labor workforce, but also look at the cost from the UHC perspective. If the workforce is not causing more injuries, then the burden to the healthcare system goes lower. And that means then the work for Daktari becomes easier for the county and also in the practice, in the clinical work.
I see that. All right. So Austin, you mentioned funding, investments, and all those things. So biggest question will be then, so what's, sustainable financial models do you think can work? I know you mentioned insurance companies and, the likes of NHIF and whatnot to come in and help. But other than that, what is it that, can help this thing?
Yeah, sustainability, of course, when you talk about financing health, we want to look at, partners come, NGOs come, they are supporting programs, and then after 5 or 10 years or 2 years, they exit. What is the sustainable model that can work for eye health? Again, looking at what is it that is affordable, you see. So how do we have, package of interventions that are more affordable? From the primary level to secondary to tertiary, all that needs to be mapped out. And again, talking of sustainability, what are the models that Kenya has? I know we may be underrating our NHIF. NHIF is a very powerful driver, well managed, well governed, and channeled rightly, with the right systems in place, we can be sustainable. Let me give you an example. We have a model that we are supporting 5 counties in Kenya to implement on sustainable eye health financing.
All right.
In that model, when we started, a county hospital was generating 500,000 shillings annually from the eye unit. Meaning we came in, we pumped in money, we trained surgeons, we provided equipment, very expensive equipment. And then we have been supporting outreaches so that you reach to the person who cannot come to the hospital. So the eye team can go there and reach them, to the last mile. But then over 2 years now, this same hospital that was generating 500,000 now is generating almost 4.5 million every year. Do they really need Fred Olos to continue supporting them? Maybe no. They just need to reinvest that money rightly so that then the system, just supports itself. And even looking at what is it when you talk about the social health insurance? We say that, the indigents, the poor, how are we able as a country to cushion those who are vulnerable, those who cannot afford to pay those premiums? And through the UHC, I know the government of Kenya has been supporting the payment of NHIF premiums for the indigents, which is a good thing, so that then you are poor, you're vulnerable, you have an eye condition that is blinding, then you're able to go to the nearest hospital. You have the human resource that is going to give you the necessary, treatment, and then you regain back your sight. You go back to your productive life. And then this hospital is able to do what? To claim money through NHIF, and then they reinvest back this money. And that's why, through the Council of Governors, I know most counties have passed what we call the FIF, the Facility Improvement Financing. That is ring fencing every money that a facility generates, they retain a significant percentage, maybe 100% or 80%. So when they retain that money, how much of that goes back to eye health? You can imagine the eye unit generating, Daktari here doing surgeries almost every day. You know, she's able to generate 10 million. And then when it comes to when they're doing their budget appropriation, then the hospital management says, hey, Daktari, no one will die in the eye unit. You know, we're not able to see those big, you know, the big picture in terms of that, the burden of eye diseases. So then you're told, you don't need this. So how can we have hospital administrations, the county leadership, starting to look at eye health, able to raise money enough for you to, you know, reinvest some even in maternal child health, enough to, you know, support issues of, you know, infection prevention control in the workplace, you know, such things. So I believe that if we can look at that public space of NHIF, but not forgetting the private sector, meaning as a country, we need to have what we call the private, I call it private sector engagement framework. So then how do we engage the private sector? I know there are people who are investing in, let's say, in optical shops, for example. You know, and let me blow your mind.
In like 15 seconds?
In 15 seconds. If you had, you know, 12, you know, the lower, you know, vision devices, like the glasses, it is at annually, you know, it's, if you invest in it, 12 billion, you know, worth of business you'd be having in this country. So why do the private sector, you know, left aside? They need to come in to be integrated so that we know how best. Do you just give free surgeries? Do you offer free services? How do they also blend with the government system? So then we are able to have the private sector, the government coming in to support the burden of blindness.
I see that. Can I take that as your passing shot? Because we literally have to end the show right now. Dr. Brenda as well. So understanding all these things. So what is that we can do at an individual level, at, you know, the labor workforce and entirely our healthcare system as well, so that we prioritize eye care, because that has not been happening for a very long time. Very quickly in like 30 seconds.
Yes, so just to echo what Austin has said, it's important to have eye health services integrated in our healthcare systems, and then also ensuring there is proper financing to ensure provision and support for the provision of the eye health services. And then to us as individuals, I'll just want to encourage us to ensure we have our frequent eye checkups, so that some of these conditions, as they crop up, they're picked up early, and then proper intervention is initiated in good time.
I like that. All right. And Dr. Melanie, very quickly, again, 30 seconds as well, in terms of then how to make sure that we inculcate, you know, eye care in our normal day activities, both from the employer and from the employee as well, and make that a standard practice in organizations.
Thank you very much, Winnie. Just to wrap up, whatever Dr. Walaba and Austin has mentioned very passionately about clinical and treating people, is so that they can go back to work, literally, and be productive. So what I would emphasize is, let's have a people-centered approach. Why are we doing this for this person? Productivity. Secondly, a human rights approach. And finally, a multi-sectoral approach. We all have to work together from the public health perspective and from the occupational safety and health perspective, so that then we ensure these risks are minimized, but also after they are treated, then they can continue and be productive in the workplace. That will be my parting.
All right, I like that. Thank you so much, Dr. Melanie. And just like we have all of you from different departments, we're coming together talking about eye health is something that we can do, all of us, and that is holding each other's hand. All right, so allow us to say goodbye. Thank you so much for your time. Austin Oduor, Health System Strengthening Manager at the Fred Hollows Foundation, and then Dr. Brenda Walaba, Chief County Ophthalmologist, she said that, from Nairobi City County Government, and Dr. Melanie Murgo, Directorate Occupational Health Physician from the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services from the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. Thank you so much for your time as well, and I hope that you've learned so much from today's conversation. Let's put it into action and take care of our eyes, because like we said, it is the window to our souls. So let's take care of the same. Have yourselves a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you on Monday, because tomorrow is Friday, so you will enjoy morning fix and enjoy your weekend as well. See you on Monday. Goodbye.